It's like going to a drive-in movie, really. Anyway, with that, I'd like to introduce our speaker today and sponsor, the bringer of the donuts, Barb Tyler with the Woodlands. And she's going to tell you more about their new facility in Lincoln and hopefully about her background and what she does. So Barb, thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. I did pass out some information. I don't like to just give you a commercial. I like to talk a little bit about what I do and how I try to help people. I came to this group as an invitation, and after meeting some of you, a lot of you can help us as we get going in our new community, because we are looking for dog walkers. We're looking for different things to make, exactly, because we want to make, we're going to really stress the amenities and hospitalities at the Woodlands. We're built right next to Hillcrest. So if you wonder what that big building is going up out there, it's assisted living and memory care. So we are looking for all kinds of different things. So I'll be talking to you, and I want to get your cards as well. I've got a little dinky door prize because I was getting donuts today and I saw something that made me chuckle. So don't get excited, but I thought it was cute. So I'm going to give that out later. So
Pass this around, so if you want to be in on the door prize, throw your card.
Please. So I know there's a lot of realtors here, and I've also had my real estate license. I've had it for 25 years, and that's how I basically got into senior housing. I kind of fell into it because of my mother's situation. She's in a small town, Falls City, and she really didn't need skilled care. So I learned a lot about senior housing and kind of went from first-time homeowners to working a lot more with people leaving their homes. So I've had a real passion for this senior housing crisis. And this, my real estate license has been 25 years, but I've been involved in senior housing for 15 years. So it has changed tremendously from when it started. But there's one thing that's in common when people make a move, and it's what to do with their stuff. It's their treasures, but to the families, usually it's stuff. And they don't know what to do with it. So I did a little research on this, and I just thought it was kind of fascinating how baby boomers, which I count myself as, and the Generation Y, which are those born between 81 and 96, they're very emotional. They are inclusive. They like everybody to not have hurt feelings. They want everybody to be happy. Whereas the World War II generation and Generation X, which is those between 1965 and 1980, they're very pragmatic. They said this is the way it's going to be, don't worry about it, and feelings sometimes get hurt. Generation X, they are very techy, and so they're used to diversity, whereas the premise on my research was that this age generation thing should be felt just as diversity as race, gender, age, sex, and so forth. So it's something to consider about when you're looking at stuff, whether you're on the receiving end or whether you're on the giving end. It all has to do with family dynamics. So the trick is knowing how people feel about things. A lot of people say they don't have to worry about it for a long time. They don't want to think about dying, but anyone can really face this question when you have a second marriage. You know, you bring more stuff into the family. Which family members are more important in making these decisions and what to do with this stuff, and the property that's already there. The big ticket items like the house and so forth are never really a problem because people have wills and so forth. But non-titled property like furniture and photos and tools, quilts, those cause the biggest problems. There's no legal documentation usually as to who officially owns them. So as they go through generations, people look at that as in different ways of how they value those. But those are often the things that give you a sense of family. The quilt that's been passed down, the fishing gear that's been passed down, certain furniture that was in a certain room, that's been passed down. So as you look at, listen to my little presentation here, think about the one thing that might be a squabble in your family. In my case, it was a $5 cookie jar. Only my brother and I remembered it. My younger brothers and sisters didn't. I got it for $5. But that cookie jar was there when my dad and my mom were there. So that was really important, and I have that in a nice little shelf up there. So there's usually one thing that probably would mean nothing to anybody else, but it means a lot to you. So these items usually don't have financial value, but it's either sentimental, historical, or emotional. So as I said, you know who's get the house or the car. but how do you decide what to do with this other stuff? And then how do you transfer it? Because each item has different meanings for different people. The sentimental value may be more important than the dollar value. And then people have ideas on what's fair and what's not fair. Begin the conversation with is an important part, because it can be emotionally draining. You've seen the commercial on TV, you're sitting there with a cup of coffee and they think, okay, it's time for the talk. And they just say, yeah, it's a nice day. And they just can't bring themselves to get to the next point. But start the conversation with, Dad, what would you want to do? Somebody, maybe a mutual friend passed or is moving into a retirement community, and they said, what would, if you were moving in there, what would you want to do with your stuff? That's a good way to start a conversation. It's non-threatening, and it just gets them thinking. They may not be verbal at that point, but it's something to get the conversation going. Chances are they're going to be here a long time, you tell your dad, but what would you want to do? You can't force the conversation, and if they don't want to talk about it, they're not going to. But at least you've shared your feelings and you made the effort to try. If you are the person thinking about distributing your own possessions at some point, maybe you're downsizing or moving away and you can't take everything with you, you have to ask yourself what you want to accomplish. What's important to you? Is there a co-owner of this item, a spouse? Is preserving the memory an important goal? How important is maintaining or improving family relationships? Is treating everyone equally or recognizing the difference important to you? Consideration may be given as someone has made a contribution through the years. So say you had a parent and you were the one taking them to the doctor appointments all these years. Or you were the one that didn't do so well financially and that parent gave you money, to help you get by. Does that count when it comes to divvying up everything else? All that has to be decided. Do you want to maintain privacy within the family? Don't tell anybody what else you've received. Or do you want to contribute to society, maybe donating some items to a museum? Once your goals are identified with what you want to do with your treasures, deciding how to accomplish them is easier. And this can also avoid misunderstandings and assumptions about your intentions. Parents don't like to bring it up because they don't want to think about themselves being gone, and kids don't want to bring it up because they think their parents are just waiting for them to die. And that's not the case. But so advanced planning can help with making those decisions. Everyone wants to be fair, but again, what is fair? Is the oldest first? Do other siblings qualify and not the in-laws? Is fair the same as money? What is sentiment worth? What about financial contributions over the years? Differences in age or marital status? Susie needs help, but John and Mary are doing very well. So all that comes into play. And I have heard it all. And I hate to say it, but it's usually the oldest daughter that has to help do most of that decisions. So I think with preparation, you can turn this conversation into something positive. Different perceptions on fairness are bound to happen. It's very normal. Some individuals feel the process, the way they decide fairness is probably more important. In my case, when my mom died, they had a sale. So if you wanted something, you had to buy it. I personally didn't like that because some of my brothers and sisters, 2 of them, didn't have the money to buy some things. So it kind of fell on some of us to maybe, we had the means to buy what we wanted. Or a lot of people do a lottery. A lot of people do a lottery. Just put a number on there and they draw out of the hat. And that's probably the most fair. The sheets that I passed out on the premise of this talk a long time ago was called What Happens to Grandma's Pie Plate? The yellow pie plate. And everybody wanted that because it was such a sentimental value. So that list is just to help you start thinking. If you are the receiver or the beneficiary, what do you want that to happen? So again, you have to decide what fairness is. Something that's interesting to me, material possessions are more valuable and bring a greater conflict when the title, property, or rest of the estate is not very large. So if mom and dad or grandma and grandpa don't have a lot of money, those things become more valuable because that's how you're going to hang on to remembering them. The challenge is how to divide that personal property fairly. Taking time to understand the different ideas of what is fair can reduce those misunderstandings. So in my case, I put a lot of sentiment into it. I'm of that baby boomer generation. My kids want nothing. They don't want the antiques or anything. And so I am going to, and my daughter-in-laws are the same way. And these are beautiful things, trust me. but they don't want them. So I have to figure out at some point what I'm going to do with them. I do have a sister that's a lot younger than me, and she would like to have them, but she's got 2 little kids running around, and I don't want to break them. But I know at some point it won't matter anymore, so I have to. That's going to be my personal thing. The other thing that's kind of interesting too is about the title property. These are like the houses and cars. Some family members seem to have expectations about their parents' will, and they find it difficult to manage these feelings if these expectations are not met. So they think mom and dad are really loaded, and they're not. When it comes down to it, they took out that reverse mortgage years ago, and no one told about it. They didn't tell anybody about it. So some people look at the will as a cure for their own financial problems, and then they get anxious and disappointed if their expectations aren't met. They expected so much money but only got a portion. So parental legacies can drive a wedge between siblings like no other thing. I have seen brothers and sisters do not talk over something that was probably minute but was very important at the time, and they can't let it go. The issue can't be resolved because the person who caused the hurt, the one that passed or moved, is dead. So they're left to struggle with that by themselves. Typically, older adults don't share private financial information with their adult children unless they or their spouse have a significant physical or cognitive health decline or their spouse dies. They are more willing to share financial information with professionals before their own family because there's less risk. Most adults feel professional financial planning is better than sharing with their kids or family because to them it shows they're vulnerable and they have a potential loss of independence. If an adult child asks about if an adult child asks about their parents' financials, but the parent is not willing to share, it starts uproar within the family. And so the circle continues. The adult children, who often are caregivers, deal with their parents' or family members' lives when a crisis happens, and then they start to consider their own life and future, and a new family dynamic is created, and so more concerns and more decisions be made, so the circle just continues. Personal possessions trigger many things: memories, emotions, feelings. Personal property has sentimental value for both the owner and the potential receivers. What is someone else's junk is someone else's treasure. And possessions are never more important than when people are involved, but having plans in place for giving away these possessions help keep good family relations. If you have to deal with these situations at a time of death, it's just so much harder because you have so many other emotions you're going through. So, and you're not thinking as clearly. So getting that out in the open when you have the chance is very important. I talked about the ways to give things away, like with an auction or a sale. A lot of wills these days, they ask you to attach a laundry list, is what we did. And so we can just go bing, 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 and that goes to him, them. I just updated it because I hadn't updated it for about 15 years. And not that I do have more stuff, I guess. And I'm more valuable, but I have more stuff. So again, I had to stop and think, I have grandchildren now. I didn't have grandchildren when I first made out the list. So that played into a point. Family members may want and name the same item if asked, but they have different reasons why it's special to them. So mothers and daughters are found to be more alike in naming special objects, but fathers and sons rarely do. Depending on your family situation, trust me, kids don't want your yearbooks, they don't want your tax returns, they don't want your class pictures, and they don't want their baby teeth. I threw that in there because I saved my kids' baby teeth, and my kids said, "What in the hell do you do with that stuff?" I also, after my mother passed, or before she passed, she gave me a big box of all the old pictures of me, which I really liked, but I didn't get it until I was probably married 15 years. So I have already given my kids their first box of stuff. And I am so glad I did. First, it's out of my house, and they really enjoyed looking at it. I mean, they really had fun. I've got 3 more boxes to go through yet. They don't know that part. But it's really been nice for them to have that for them. So this gives your kids the gift of their own time back. Because when something does happen with a move or death, they don't have to stop their lives, go through the possessions, and decide on what to get rid of or give it away or donate. Don't forget to look in your attic or basement areas besides just your own living space. If you leave things to your children to make the decision of what to do with your things, they go through the entire process of losing you again, as well as the trauma over what to do with all your stuff. They didn't want you to die or move, but we're forced to make that sacrifice. And then your stuff becomes their substitute self. And since you liked it and it was meaningful to you, it's awful painful for them to let it go. So I tell people in my situation, help them find a home for it, whether even they keep it in their house and mom and dad can come visit it, or grandma and grandpa can visit. It's a way to know that their things are being enjoyed and it's not totally lost. Start the process early. It can become an opportunity to learn more about your adult children or grandma and grandpa on a one-to-one basis, as well as a way for them to learn more about the item being considered. I have a beautiful cut glass vase, and I always just assumed it was my grandmother's, but it was passed down from her grandmother. So in doing that, I learned more about the item. And this is one thing my kids don't want. I said, well, it makes it, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Let's start slowly. Go to lunch together, bring up an item or two, and whether they admit it or not, they start thinking about it, and it just makes it so much easier for you. So I've been involved with these discussions forever, it seems like. And it's just a relief sometimes to get the topic out. And no one wants to initiate the subject of what to do with all these family jewels, However, it's a daily topic at work where I'm at when a new resident moves in, or I expect, and I expect that to continue for quite a while. So I want to pass out a little bit about my new properties, new community. Get this going. The paper clips are used. Should be good for everybody. The Woodlands at Hillcrest. It's kind of funny, I think. This is not to be confused with Hillcrest Firethorn. We're getting that a lot. Two different companies, two different things. The Woodlands at Hillcrest is 64 assisted living and 24 memory care. Whereas Hillcrest Firethorn, they should love me, I give them a plug every time. They do strictly rehab. Great company. Hillcrest is a company out of Omaha, but two different things. They would have asked me before I was hired about 3 months ago, I would have said never to include Hillcrest in the title, because in Lincoln, Hillcrest is Hillcrest Country Club. So I really practice saying the Woodlands. Then if they ask more, it's next to Hillcrest, is what I've been trying to say. And because Hillcrest, we're kind of in the same pathway off 84th Street. So again, two good companies, but two different things. Right now, we're temporarily at the Cherry Hill building. We're doing leasing. Pre-leasing right now. We hope our offices, we hope them to move into them probably in December. I know I'm hoping a lot, but I think the offices can be. We're looking to take our first residents late January, February, so it's a ways off yet. There's other properties being developed at this time as well, but I only see the need to continue to grow, especially on the memory care side, which is a more immediate need. So I do see our assisted living filling up first. Let's see. On the assisted living side, there's 10 floor plans to choose from, all the way from just under 500 square feet to over 1,000. And memory care will have two separate plans. Memory care will have a predictable lifetime pricing, which is something I have not seen in Lincoln before. And trust me, I've been around for a while. I've done independent living, skilled care, assisted, and memory care. Predictable lifetime pricing will be, you'll start at a certain price, and that price will follow you all the way through. There'll never be an increase. Your level of care will increase, but that you'll never have the 2 or 3% rate increase that most places do, and that's just a given. So cost of living goes up. So I can't think of one place that doesn't have a cost of living increase. That way, families can budget on the memory care side a lot easier. So we'll also have respite care, which for you that don't know, that's maybe a weekend or 2-week stay. So if you do have someone in your household, or you don't want to leave grandma alone for a while, they can come in, it's like a little mini vacation, bring their suitcase in, it's all furnished, and they can be treated royally for those forever, how long as they are. We'll have day services as well, which is going to run from 8 to 5. So again, the same premise, if you're taking care of someone in your home and you don't want to leave them alone, they can come in and have activities, supervised activities, meals, their medication passes, the whole bit. So it's just kind of a nice process. There's several places here in town that offer that as well. Part of my job as Director of Community Relations is to let people know that assisted living is probably a really good opportunity and I'm not digging anybody here, to bypass skilled care. Skilled care is so expensive. And today's assisted livings can do so much more than the old days. You always think nursing home. I know when I started out, I had the hardest time getting people to come to lunch because they kept thinking they'd see people in wheelchairs in the hallways and that sort of thing. It is a different world today. Trust me, it's a different world. But assisted livings today, they offer special diets. They offer 2-person assists, which is a lot of places skilled care would only do in the past. They can bring in home health care to do those. Maybe there's some feeding issues. So assisted living is such a good opportunity to save some money. I'm constantly amazed at how many people of that generation have long-term care insurance. A godsend. You young people, get it now because it's going to be your lifesaver. My kids keep saying, "Don't worry, Mom, we'll take care of you." They have no idea what it's going to cost them. So long-term care insurance has been, whoever promoted that 10 years ago, they're doing well, and they're thanking you right now, let me tell you. We're going to have in-house occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy, so you don't have to go out. We'll have medical transportation. There'll be an award-winning chef, we hope. We're in the process of hiring that now. We're in the process of hiring a director of nursing. And we will have RNs and LPNs around the clock, which is something else that is different. Right now in our pre-leasing mode, we are taking a $500 refundable deposit. So if something would happen that they cannot move in, they will get that money back. But that deposit gives them a number that they will have first choice at floor plan and location within the building. So, and they'll also be a Founders Club member. And I didn't think that was a big deal, but trust me, these little ladies love to be in the Founders Club. They get a plaque, they're going to get a reception, so they are loving that idea. So we took a deposit yesterday after our first big luncheon we had, so that's coming along. There's also, I think I put in those little packets, we have 2 referral plans. So if you have somebody in your home, yes sir?
Is this going to be on the MLS? Are these going to be on MLS?
No. I did distribute those to the senior resource specialist, so they have some of that information. If you want some, Cody, I'm glad to get to you.
Yeah, we can talk.
Yep. Because one of those guys, you know, the referral, an agent gets 20% referral if you refer on. So I was talking to an agent. We are offering a $750 referral to anybody that gives me a name. I work it. If they move in, you get the $750. In a broker's case, my broker always let me keep a referral, but it's up to your broker. You know, you always get a piece of the pie. So, but that's up to you. That's up to you. For the residents that move in, if they bring their neighbor in or a friend, they will get $1,000 off their rental. So if the rent, and we're not a buy-in. It's a month-to-month rent. So know that. So there's 2 referral plans there. Besides the care, the Woodlands is really going to feature on amenities and hospitality. The programming is something like I've not seen before in Lincoln. We have heartfelt connections in our memory care, which focuses on what the person has left, not what they've lost, which is a different aspect to look at memory care. And I've been in that 2 years, trust me, that's a different way. Their life bio that we will create will help staff get to know that resident better so they can refer back to why are they sundowning? Why are they getting ready to go to work at 5 o'clock in the evening? Well, we can refer back. Staff, you know, have 3 different shifts, so they don't get to know the residents as well sometimes. But there's no excuse now. Our staff will know the residents as well as their family. Our parent company is Life Care Services. They're out of Des Moines. They are going to manage this property. The actual owner is our construction company, which is Nelson Construction. And I know our foreman lives in Gretna, so they're Nebraska-based. Life Care Services is the 3rd largest in the United States with over 130 communities, but we are the first one in Nebraska. And I wasn't looking to make a move, but this was an opportunity. I've never had a new community before, and I'm just really excited about it. I've never done pre-leasing, so this is a new ball game for me too, but it's been a lot of fun. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions, or sit down with me and I'll go over floor. I didn't include floor plans because there's so many, but be glad to sit down and talk to your family. Yes, sir.
Was it like 20? How long do you think it'll take to fill this building up?
In my world, memory care is going to be very immediate. 64 assisted living is not that many. I came, Gramercy Hills 147. I came from a memory care that was scattered all over town, and we had probably 64 total. I'm looking to fill it within a year and a half to 2 to be reasonable. You have attrition. That's just the nature of the game. But we're doing well. We're getting a lot of couples, which surprises me. A lot of couples. I would thought the single ladies would be the first in line, but the couples are. We're not opening until after the holidays, so people are just putting their deposit down. If you get in early, they're kind of picking some of their floor coverings, which they like. So I'm really looking at a year and a half, to be honest.
So when's your open dates? Is it early?
Late January, February is what we're shooting for. They're a little ahead of schedule, so I already got some events planned there, so they better be open. I've got a couple breakfasts. Yes, sir.
What's the average cost for a person to live there?
From the small studio, I'm talking assisted living, it'll be about $4,200 a month. That's room and board, and it'll go to about $56 at this point. Don't hold me to those because they're still tweaking them with services. We're going to do laundry for everybody now, personal laundry at no extra cost. You know, the transportations, everything's included. The only thing you would pay extra for is your medications and any personal products. A lot of people still want to bring their car in. I think they just want that security that their car is there. But we do have the transportation. There's really no need to. We're also working out a deal with Hillcrest to get a social membership for these people so they can take a golf cart and go out to dinner if they wanted to, or go up and play bridge. Not that there'll be plenty. If you look in your packets of the town center layout, there are some wonderful open public areas that are just fabulous. All the apartments have 9-foot ceilings. They're wonderful. They're wonderful. I used to work at the Grand Lodge, and Grand Lodge, I always said, had the most beautiful apartments in town, and I'm going to have to rethink that once these are done. Of course, it's newer too. You have to give it that. So, anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you mentioned couples. If you have a situation where one needs memory care but one doesn't,
Mhm.
is that something that you can accommodate?
We
then?
can. Everything is going to be individual. So if that person that needs memory care needs to be with that person, they could go into assisted living. Their care level will be a little higher for that person. If there's a couple, the second person charges typically $600, so you don't pay double rent, so just to let you know. We have one couple now we're working with. They want to be under the same roof. So he's going to go into assisted living at straight room and board, and she's going to go into memory care. So they're under one roof, they can see each other every day. She can come over, he can go over. It's just going to depend on each situation. I should say too, there's two separate areas, one for the memory care community or neighborhood and one for the assisted living. There will be secured entrances, obviously with memory care. A different thing too for this time around is there is a kiosk at each entrance. So the first time you go through, you'll get your little name badge, whether you're a home health care worker or just somebody there to see grandma. In the meantime, when you come back again, that kiosk is going to do a background check on everybody. So if something comes up and you come back and the name card doesn't spit out, we're going to see that you don't have a name card. We're going to ask why a person's in there. We're really going to be very focused on security. Anything else? Well, if you have any questions, my card is in there. It's stapled on the back of that brochure. I didn't know where else to put it. And I can give you some more information about that. Every day I learn something new because we're progressing. We had our first informational luncheon yesterday at Hillcrest. So we had 50 people. So I was very pleased with that. I was expecting 30, so we had 50. So we're going to have another one in October. So if you know of someone that you would like to bring by, just find out the information, see the PowerPoint, let me know. It's a complimentary lunch. We're going to be starting dusty shoe tours here probably at the end of next month, and I tell you, it'll be dusty. I've been in it a couple times, but it really gives you the flavor. People in Nebraska like to touch and feel, and I think once we start those, it's going to get kind of nuts. So I'll be happy to show you around or give you some more information if you like. So thank you for having me today. I appreciate it. If you have some services you think we might need, mark something on your card because, again, we're looking for different services. We're looking for temporary bus driver, like I said, dog walkers. We got a hairstylist that's interested. So there's, as you know, it takes a lot to make this community. It really does. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I would like to, as a thank you, give you one of our brand new Focus Suite mugs.
Thank you.
And where did we get these? I can't remember the vendor. Oh, there she is. There's the vendor. No, we're really tickled at these, brand new, hot off the presses, so please enjoy some coffee on us.
I'll have you draw.
Okay, and we'll find out
This
the
is really silly,
grand prize.
but I thought it was cute.
She said something about Bahamas.
Oh, yeah. I'll be there.
The winner
Who's that?
is Calvin Kemp. Okay.
What?
This is, I was at Dunkin' Donuts getting the donuts this morning, and I thought this was something to put in your coffee, but it's lip balm, it's pumpkin spice. I just thought it was cute.